Canto 1, Chapter 6, conversation between Narada and Vyasadeva, text 22. Is it there? Yeah. Yes? Okay. Sakrit Yad Darshitam Rupam Etat Kamaya Te Nagha Mat Kama Shanakai Sadhu Sarvan Munchati Chayan Sakridya Darshitam Rupam Etat Kamaya Te Naga Mat Kama Shanakai Sadhu Sarvan Munchati Rich Chayan Sakridya Darshitam Rupam Etat Kamaya Te Naga Mat Kama Shanakai Sadhu Sarvan Munchati Rich Chayan Sakridya Darshitam Rupam Etat Kamaya Te Naga Mat Kama Shanakai Sadhu Sarvan Munchati Rich Chayan Mataji. Okay. Sacred. Once only. Yad. That. Darshitam. Shown. Rupam. Form. Etat. This is. Kamaya. For hankering. Te. Your. Anaka. O virtuous one. Mat. Mind. Kama. Desire. Shanakai. By increasing. Sadhu. Devotee. Sarvan. All. Munchati. Gives away. Parichayan. material desires. Translation. O virtuous one, you have only once seen my person, and this is just to increase your desire for me, because the more you hanker for me, the more you will be freed from all material desires. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A living being cannot be vacant of desires. He is not a dead stone. He must be working, thinking, feeling, and willing. But when he thinks, feels, and wills materially, he becomes entangled. And conversely, when he thinks, feels, and wills for the service of the Lord, he becomes gradually freed from all entanglement. The more a person is engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, the more he acquires a hankering for it. That is the transcendental nature of godly service. Material service has satiation, whereas spiritual service of the Lord has neither satiation nor end. One can go on increasing his hankerings for the loving transcendental service of the Lord, and yet he will not find satiation or end. By intense service of the Lord, one can experience the presence of the Lord transcendentally. Therefore, seeing the Lord means being engaged in his service, because his service and his person are identical. The sincere devotee should go on with sincere service of the Lord. The Lord will give proper direction as to how and where it has to be done. There was no material desire in Narada, and yet, just to increase his intense desire for the Lord, he was so advised. I'll read the verse again. Sakritya darshitam rupam etat kamaya tenaka mat kama shanakai sadhu sarva munchati hrichchayam. O virtuous one, you have only once seen my person, and this is just to increase your desire for me, because the more you hanker for me, the more you will be freed from all material desires. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vaskacharya Shataya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchkapaturivyasya kripa sindhuvya evacha Paditana Bhavadevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Yes, well, I hope you understand English okay, because my Telugu, I only know one word, I think. Dhanyavad Amu. Telugu. That's all. Hindi, God is saying, lekin meri hindi bahut kharab hai. So, well, you know the story, I imagine. It's a story, Narada Muni is telling his own story. And what an amazing story it is. And at this point, he's right in the last stages, really, of telling his story so far. How he was the son of the maidservant, he got the association of the Bhakti Vedantas. Then they went and his mother passed away shortly after, and his small child on his own, no father, no other family members. But that didn't discourage him. He, because of who he is and because of his association with those great devotees, he took it to be the mercy of the Lord, and off he went on pilgrimage, visiting so many sacred places of pastimes and temples and so on. And perhaps he came here also. It's quite possible, at least. Perhaps quite likely. So Narada Muni, then moving around, absorbed in Krishna consciousness, chanting, purely remembering the Lord, purely engaged in different forms of devotional service, all pure. His stage was different from our stage. So he was doing everything. Everything was just on a very wonderful platform of pure Krishna consciousness. As Prabhupada says here, there was no material desire in Narada. That's what Prabhupada says, and we cannot say the same, I think, about ourselves. Yes, so his level is definitely different from our level, and therefore we should not expect too much to have this particular experience that he's having of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, four-armed form of the Lord, of having the Lord appear in front of us and speak to us. It's not really, we're not, our level is just not like that. But this is all to inspire us and instruct us and encourage us to keep going. Just as the Lord is encouraging Narada, keep going, keep going. You know, you're getting there. You're not there, but, you know, step by step, keep going. So the Lord is encouraging us by encouraging Narada. The Lord in the verse says that the more you hanker for me, the more you feel separation from me, which inspires you further to try to approach me and achieve me, the more you'll be freed from material desires. But Narada, as Prabhupada said, is already free from material desires. So to some degree, it's a similar situation as we see with Arjuna and Bhagavad Gita. There's a connection there. Arjuna was not exactly in Maya as we are prone to be in Maya. By the special arrangement of the Lord, he was placed in some special type of consciousness, but that was not his normal consciousness. It's just to instruct us. Arjuna didn't exactly need to be instructed as we do need to be instructed. So Narada He doesn't exactly need to be told that this is being done so he can become free from material desire, because he's already got no material desire. But for us it's very relevant and practical. And of course, this is very important for us to appreciate the importance and the power of separation. Of course, you could say there is separation and there is separation, if you know what I mean. There is separation which inspires or somehow or other is an impetus for our coming closer, trying to come closer to Krishna. And then there's just separation in this material world. This material world is a place of separation. Everyone here is separated from Krishna, at least except for the devotees, and particularly the more serious devotees. Otherwise, everyone is separated from Krishna. But the problem is that the separation everyone is experiencing from Krishna, generally, the vast majority, is not giving any impetus. How can I come closer to Krishna? Rather, it's the opposite. It's all just, let us find alternatives to Krishna. Instead of Krishna, I will get a wife or a husband. Of course, they're not thinking exactly that this will replace Krishna for me, but indirectly it's just there in the background that is the unspoken idea or an unknown idea, that I'm looking for a replacement for Krishna. So I get a husband or a wife, and with all due respect, usually they're a bit disappointing, considering what people really need. What people really need is that deep and perfect, eternal, loving relationship with Krishna, which is free from any type of material influence or just things that happen in this material world. But even if the relationship is relatively nice, even if they get a relatively nice husband or wife, and they have relatively nice children, etc., and friends and all of that, but usually at best, it's disappointing, ultimately at least in the sense that everyone dies after not a long time. You know, when you're young, you think you've got a long time ahead of you before you die. You just wait till you start getting older and you realize it's just not a long time. So even if these relationships are relatively fairly nice, but in the end you get completely let down anyway, because everyone dies, all your family members and ultimately you. So everyone is separated from Krishna here, but the problem is that they don't understand what it means, what it's all about. And they don't understand. We're trying to find substitutes. When I was young, which was a long time ago, there was a very famous song which very few of you would be familiar with, a popular song called Substitute by, would you believe, The Who. Sounds crazy, but yeah, so substitute. Everything we're trying to substitute for Krishna, but it just cannot work, and it doesn't work. So therefore everyone is disappointed. This material world, the separation that people are feeling ultimately for Krishna, although they don't see it in those terms, but that separation leads to disappointment, frustration, and so on and so forth. That's the story of material life. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna explains, Chatur Vidabhajante Manjana Sukritanarjuna Arto Jigyasu or Artarti Gyanicha Bharatarshava. 4 types of pious people they may not also, but they may begin to render devotional service to him, to Krishna. They may, but they may not. If they are pious, to some degree they may, but Prabhupada explains there that if a person is not pious enough or just somehow or other is not inclined, despite being in misery, despite looking for some wealth or material facility, despite being inquisitive, despite looking for knowledge, if a person just somehow or other is not inclined to look for that in Krishna, and through the process of devotional service, then the people who are in these conditions, particularly the distressed, and those who want money or material facility, they become very frustrated. And Prabhupada explains there, they may turn to some intoxication. I will try to find happiness at the bottom of a bottle. First of all, we have to empty the bottle, because we hear the happiness is at the bottom of the bottle. Anyway, you know what I mean. This is their idea. Some of them, they even may go insane. It's just too much. They just cannot deal with the difficulties and the feelings that arise from the difficulties. They may commit suicide, they may go insane. Suicide generally is just a form of insanity. Or they may take up some very extreme political or quasi-spiritual process. They just get into very strange and very dissatisfying things. But separation, the power of separation from Krishna, well, in a sense, that's all what we were just mentioning about frustration, etc. It's just showing the power of separation, what it can do to people, separation from Krishna. But in the positive sense, if through the association of devotees, a person understands that actually all these problems that I'm going through in material life and that everyone's going through in material life, it's all there because I'm separated from Krishna, and therefore what to do? Now I have to develop my relationship with Krishna. I have to do that. I have to make it the goal of my life and just what I'm trying to do at every step in my life. So then that realization, how I'm separated from Krishna, how I'm lost in this material world, and what it's done to me, and what it's doing for everyone, it becomes very powerful impetus for making progress in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. So it's a form of separation. Of course, when we hear of separation, oftentimes we think of like Lord Chaitanya, Yugayitam Nameshena Chakshusha Pravishayitam Shunyayitam Jigat Sarvam Govinda Virahena Me. Of course, this is separation on the highest level, or the gopis. They're dancing with Krishna, and then Krishna leaves them and goes off with Radharani, and then he leaves her. Of course, this is separation. This is very extraordinary, most extraordinary and amazing separation. But for us, separation from Krishna is a great reality, like a foundational reality for us in our Krishna consciousness. And it was for Narada. It was for Narada. He's moving around looking for Krishna. Where is Krishna? How can I enter my relationship with Krishna? And what should happen? But Krishna appeared before him and spoke to him. He hasn't done that with me. Let me tell you, let me be completely honest. I know maybe for some of you, but he hasn't done that for me. Yeah. So, of course, well, I was reading the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur to this verse last night and just now, a little earlier. And he says that Narada was thinking, or maybe even said, can you just appear one more time, please? Could you just appear one more time? Is that okay? But the Lord said no. Just one time. Just one time. Special mercy for you. Just one time. And this one time is meant to be a stimulus for you to carry on, push on, and keep working and serving and trying to come closer to me, and then everything will manifest in due course. But for now, that's it. For the time being, that's it. The Lord has that intelligence. The devotee may think, just one more time. But the Lord may feel, that's enough for you. That's enough. Anyway, Srila Prabhupada in the purport makes an interesting point in relation to us, is that, let's see, by intense service of the Lord, one can experience the presence of the Lord transcendentally. Therefore, seeing the Lord means being engaged in his service, because the service of his person are identical. The sincere devotee should go on with sincere service of the Lord, and everything will develop. Or you could say everything will develop, or at least step by step, Krishna will give more and more mercy, and ultimately, by mercy, plus the sincere desire and attempt of the devotee, everything will come. But otherwise we should understand the Lord is there in his service. Let me continue serving. Connection with him will be there. His mercy will come. And like this, even we can pray, Krishna, please help me to see your hand sometimes as I'm trying to serve you. Intervene a little, please. Let me tell you one story in that regard of the Lord, I take it, the Lord intervening in my life. I think you'll find it interesting. Yeah. I was to fly. Well, there are 3 cities involved, which surely none of you have been to, and likely none of you have heard of. One is called Tallinn, the second is called Riga, and the third is called Vilnius. These are 3 cities, they're sort of in a row. And I had to, in Tallinn is Estonia, Riga is Latvia, Vilnius is Lithuania. I had to fly early in the morning from Tallinn, changing planes in Riga and on to Vilnius for an appointment with a government official for getting special residency in the EU. And of course I wanted to be there on time, so we arranged flights. Everything looked good on paper, looked excellent on paper. Unfortunately, when we got to the airport, we saw the first flight, which I had to be on time in order to get the second flight to arrive on time. First flight was delayed. So I started praying to Krishna. Krishna, please. You know this is important. Krishna, right? It's for your service. I'm not getting anything out of it. Please, do something. Well, anyway, either Krishna didn't do anything or Krishna did something I couldn't comprehend. The flight got even later. And by the time we left, I realized I will not be in the second place on time to get the second flight. How will I make the appointment with the government official? And I thought, Krishna, come on, Krishna, or something like that. I'm just being honest with you. So we're flying along in the direction of Riga, and, I was discouraged. Yeah, a little discouraged with Krishna even, you could say. Suddenly there's an announcement that we cannot land in Riga. There is a security situation. We had to go to another airport. I thought, another airport? Krishna, I got to get, to this third place. Krishna, please. Then there's another announcement after a couple of minutes. Yes, we cannot land in Riga because there is a report of a bomb in Riga airport. The airport is closed. And I thought, Krishna, come on, bomb? What is this? So then a couple of minutes later, the person announced, yes, we have to go to another airport. We are going to Vilnius. Anyway, which was the destination. And then I must admit, I apologized to Krishna. I'm sorry. And I made it in time. And I'm convinced Krishna was there. I'm convinced. Someone may say it's just circumstantial. As far as I'm concerned, Krishna was there. So in different ways, the devotees get, as Prabhupada says, one can, by intense service of the Lord, one can experience the presence of the Lord transcendentally. This is different from what is happening here with Narada Muni. It's different, but as they say, it's sort of the same but different. Kind of, we're not on the level of Narada. Even as a 5-year-old child, we're just not on that level. But we're somewhere. We're somewhere there. At least we're doing something, as opposed to nothing. Of course, we may be, our efforts may be fraught with defects in many ways. That's another thing. But at least, if one is attempting to be or become a devotee, then Krishna is there. And if we render service, particularly as Prabhupada says, by intense service, if one really makes an effort to be there, for example, in Mangalarati and chant your rounds, and then whatever your service is, to really try and do it from the heart and just to the best of one's ability, then Krishna is there. Krishna's always there in his service. Krishna is always there in his holy names. Even sometimes devotees tell us, I'm getting no taste from chanting. I mean, it happens. Sometimes someone says like that. And then I ask, so are you chanting though? Or are you chanting 16 rounds? And sometimes the devotee says, yes, I'm chanting 16 rounds, but I'm not really getting any taste. But the thing is, if you're actually not getting any taste at all, you cannot chant 16 rounds. It's just humanly, I would say, pretty much impossible. At least to do it every day. Was it Prakashananda Saraswati? Anyway, I think, couldn't say once, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Or maybe it was Valmiki. Valmiki couldn't say. Yeah, okay. Prakashananda could say Chaitanya, no problem, because there's more mercy there. But Krishna, it just wouldn't come out. And Valmiki too. Couldn't get any more out because there's just too many problems there. So if you can chant 16 rounds and do it every day, that's a good sign. Even if your chanting is not so good, even if it's actually bad, and you're sort of fighting with your mind and desires, etc. So why is it nice to chant Hare Krishna? I mean, particularly if you really give it your best effort and you really try to chant attentively and actually chant the mantra and not just some garbled something, why is it nice? Well, it is because Krishna is there. That's the reason. Because Krishna is there, and if you actually try, then despite our numerous shortcomings, but Krishna is present, and we get some contact, we get a little mercy, and at least it's nice, and we can do it and have a nice feeling afterwards. So like this, it is a fact that even for neophytes like ourselves, Krishna is present. Not like he was present exactly for Narada, but he's present. And we should try to be conscious. We should pray to the Lord. Please help me to become conscious of your actual presence in my life, because he's there. Therefore, Prabhupada chose the term, the name of our process as Krishna consciousness, not Krishna worship, not exactly Krishna service, but Krishna consciousness, to become aware of Krishna's presence, because he is there. We just need to become conscious. And that happens through the process of devotional service. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. I don't know, is there time for a question or comment? It's 9 o'clock. What should we do? Yes, Maharaj. Oh, do we? Yes, me too. I assume 9. Is it okay? Those who know. A few minutes. Anyway, if anyone, yeah, Maharaj. Is it on? That's the next question.
Thank you very much for the point that actually Krishna is present. We just have to be conscious of it. And a nice example, and he's there in your holy name, and he's there. And thank you very much for that. Very valuable. One could say that you painted a rather dark picture of life. That even we get a nice wife, we have relatively good friends, and that it all ends in death, and therefore there's disappointment. It's just one long downhill slog, and it ends badly. So, well, one could say, that's because you create this artificial paradigm. You know, you're expecting that, your happiness is going to go on forever, or you know what. But I've accepted the reality of life. I'm going to get old. I'm going to be disappointed sometimes. Not everything's going to go my way, and sooner or later I'm going to drop dead. That's just life. So because I don't have this artificial expectation, artificial standard, I'm happy. So I don't know what you're talking about. You create an artificial standard, you don't reach it, therefore you're disappointed. But I'm not disappointed. I'm sailing along and taking happiness where it comes.
And unhappiness where it comes. And disappointment and frustration. Yes. Yes, sir. Well, yeah. As some say, the truth hurts. And the reality of material life is something along the lines of what you said. But the thing is, at least one thing is, that when we practice, we have been there also. We've been there prior to Krishna consciousness. We were battling along in our own ways and trying our best and getting knocked down and then trying to get up again and But now we have got Krishna consciousness, and now we feel much happier. We feel much happier. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, and I'm sure you're aware, how some interviewer said to Prabhupada, what if at the end you realize there was no Krishna? And it's all just, you're just going to die and that's just the end. And there's no Krishna, and all these things you sort of believe in, they're just like figments of the imagination. Prabhupada said, I would still do the same thing. I would still practice Krishna consciousness because it's just so nice. And at least I can be really happy until the inevitable comes, if that's all it boils down to. And so why not? It's just much nicer. Yeah. Rather than this, it's sort of a poor excuse for a life. Sometimes people who are kind of enthusiastic about material life say to someone who's not, get a life. Just get a life means just get into it and just do something. But it's just a poor excuse for a life. I suffer, I'm miserable sometimes. Every now and then I get a bit of a burst of pleasure, but then things go down again. What sort of life is that? Could you recommend that as a way of life? You know, people should do this. You can't recommend it as a desirable program for life. But our experience in Krishna consciousness is that it's just much nicer. So even if, you know, death is just the end, better to be Krishna conscious in the meantime. But obviously, you know, we take it there's more to it than that. But anyway, thank you for the intelligent question. I can see you're thinking. Anyway, okay. Any other comment or question or point? Okay. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki.